What's going on today, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of BWI2ATXF, the channel. And today what we're going to be discussing is the Dashcam Blackvue DR900X-2CH. It's a mouthful, but we're going to discuss this in a different format than what some of my previous subscribers are used to. It's going to be a new 3-part series here. The first part is going to be why I chose this over the competitors. Personal preference, some of the research that I did, I'm just bundling this up so other people can consider it and choose wisely on what they want to go with. Part 2 is going to be the installation on a Lexus RCF here, and of course it's for the RCF, but it can translate over to a lot of other platforms. It's a good watch regardless. Part 3 is going to be Jerry's final thought. You don't know what I'm talking about, too young, but Jerry's final thought. We're going to be discussing the end result, pros and cons of this product, what I would change about it, what I wouldn't, and the footage, room for improvement. Now the DR900X is going to be the successor to the S, the 900S, and Blackvue built on top of their success with the original launch in 2017. They added more features. Still has Ultra HD in the front, which is 4K in the front at 30 frames per second. The rear is going to be the steady, proven 1080p in the rear, again at 30 frames per second. And Blackvue, they are, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best in the business. They know how to make a product, they know how to build off that product. Aesthetically, it is the same design that we know and love. Nothing has changed there. They did add a copper bezel to the lens, and that's a nice compliment to the Lexus RCF interior. Some people hate it, I like it personally. More importantly, the technical aspects that they did add, or the technical features. HDR, high dynamic range, which helps with the performance, overall performance of video and the footage. So that increases the contrast, so you get more blacks, whiter whites, high dynamic range. Look it up. It does have an LTE module that is about $150, and basically what that does is it mounts to the windshield here and plugs directly into the main unit in the front via USB. And what that does is it provides you with a hotspot. So what does that mean? Gives you video capability and live view functionality through the cloud at any given time. As long as you have a 4G signal, you have access to your car. So not only can you look at that in real time with the real-time feed, but also get push notifications on impacts during parking mode. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. It does have a higher heat tolerance. Down here in Texas, it gets 105 degrees on a regular day in the summertime. So you need that durability. In the past, the S has had some thermal shutdowns. They corrected that with firmware upgrades, but it's nice to know that they figured it out. They put it in here out the box. Additionally, they did provide a hardwire system, so it does have voltage cutoff. What does that mean? It means you don't need to have a box associated with it anymore. So they call it the Power Magic Pro. That's no longer needed. It's all built into the firmware of the head unit. I say head unit, the main unit in the front of the car. Jumping back to the mention of what is parking mode. Parking mode is exactly what it says. It's a mode that happens when you park. So it'll run continuously until you get that foresaid voltage monitor cutoff. It'll turn off so it doesn't drain your battery. And it'll monitor for impacts when parked. So if you hit it, that'll be an event, as they call it. It'll register, and with the cloud functionality, you'll get a push notification to your phone, so you can check the footage if you want. Our partner mode has a few settings that you can play with. By default, it has time lapse, so it'll take a picture every minute, splice it together. However, in the event that there is an event, as they again call it, it will buffer 10 seconds and record by default of 1 minute full time. So say if I was to hit that, would have got the past 10 seconds, and it would record an additional 50 seconds to make it that minute. You can change those settings in the app, but you do have that flexibility to do so. Great feature, and that's really what separates a low tier dash cam from a top tier dash cam. It's what you want. Why do you have a dash cam if you can't do parking mode? You want to protect yourself. Now, years ago, I was like, all right, I'm gonna get the Blackvue. That's all I need to know. They're the creme de la creme. That's my choice. But come here 2020, I'm like, yeah, there's some new kids on the blocks that are definitely contenders. You got the VIOFO, don't quote me on that pronunciation. as well as the Thinkware U1000. Now, the VIOFO is not cloud oriented, so that just completely exited out for me. It does have good performance, but if you want the cloud functionality, that's not what you want. So the only other option personally was the Thinkware U1000. What does that do that it was even a contender? It does have some added features like lane departure and collision warning and stuff. I hear it's a little bit chatty, something to consider. And if you looked at my previous video, I kind of got irritated with the Navi here. I don't want something too chatty, just shut up. The U1000 does have a 2K rear, so it has that selling point for it. However, the capacity of the SD card is a little bit compromised. Now you got 2K, a higher quality in the back or higher resolution in the back. You need more capacity, right? Not with Thinkware. The maximum capacity that they offer is 128. Blackvue offers 256. Now I'm running 128 here, but I want that overhead. If you want that overhead, that's something to consider. Ultimately, I did hear a little bit of mixed reviews about the Thinkware U1000. The app is a bit buggy. I don't want to have to pay this type of money and have something that's not working the way I want. I'm very intolerant to bugs. I'm in IT. I cannot accept that. That's why I'm an iPhone user. But if that bothers you, that's something to consider. Now, the video of the Thinkware is a bit better. It has higher contrast, I think better performance at night, better performance in the day, but at what cost? Do you want a buggy system? And not to shame them, I think it's a good platform, and Thinkware is going to be on a very serious contender after it's all said and done in a few years, but personally, it's not for me. Maybe for you, but not for me. Now, one of the biggest differences historically were that the Thinkware models did offer built-in voltage monitoring. Now, Blackvue said, nah, we can't lose consumers, i.e. me, for built-in monitoring, so they got it right in the DR900X. One of the biggest factors as to why I didn't get the Thinkware was because the form factor, in my opinion, is just unacceptable. It takes up so much real estate on your windshield. It's ugly. And they had a little bit more attraction in the design, like the Blackvue. Might have been a better contender personally, but I mean, if you want the features, cool, you're gonna have to deal with that form factor. That's just the bottom line about it. Just to wrap up, you know, the differences between the Thinkware and the Blackvue, the bottom line is, if you want video quality, Thinkware is what you want, right? But the Blackvue is not bad. It's not bad by any means. I wouldn't have got it otherwise. Where the Blackvue shines bright in is the cloud functionality and the integration with the cloud. You got that native add-on module for LTE 4G. That's something to consider down the road if you want that full functionality that you want from a cloud perspective. Thinkware is not going to be able to give you that at this time. You're going to have to get a hotspot in your car. That's additional overhead. I want things to work out the box. That's my perspective. Do I need to upgrade from the DR900S to the X? It really depends. Do you want the polished cloud functionality that the X can bring and deliver? 100% upgrade. But if you don't care about cloud functionality, just keep the S. HDR is nice, but I don't think that's worth completely ripping out your S installation to get the X, which brings me to the next point. The S does require the PowerMagic Pro for that voltage monitoring. That is not compatible with the X. You have to hardwire into the car to get the X to function. Now, if you want to future-proof, yeah, you're gonna have to, there's no way around that. But if you really don't feel like, you know, ripping out your existing configuration or installation just for the sake of the X, then yeah, by all means, keep the S. It is not plug and play. That's something to keep in mind. So that's the end of part one to this series. I'm very research oriented, so you know, I just wanted to relay this to other people as a one-stop shop. Stay tuned to part two, and that's going to be the installation on this car right here. If you haven't already, please like the video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you get alerted to parts 2 and 3. I'll see you real soon.